Hi. Okay, so I am back with another story time. This story time is going to be about you remember I mentioned him before that I had my two older kids. I told the guy that I was pregnant by him and I wasn't. It's about that relationship. So, we're going to call him Joey. So one day, my cousin Sarah and I, we're going to call her Sarah, we're walking around. It was like the summer going into our eighth grade year. We're walking around like we always did. We would walk around the neighborhood over at our grandmother's house because our grandmothers are sisters and they lived together. So we would see each other a lot. Like I said, she's my favorite cousin growing up, my best friend, everything. So Sarah and I were walking and we meet these two guys, Joey and let's call his friend Kane. My cousin Sarah and Kane were talking, and Joey wanted to talk to me. She ended up staying at the house for a little bit, and I'm walking around. Here's the thing, real fast, I know. I would have done it too. Honestly, I would have done it too. I didn't because I was super hairy, and back then, I'm still super hairy. I do PCOS, facial wax videos all the time. So I'm still super hairy. I didn't stay because I was ashamed and embarrassed of how hairy I was, and I didn't want to get like picked on. So I was super shy for that reason. If it wasn't for that, I'm sure I would have stayed too. I was on my way because she stayed. She went into the house. I ended up, I'm walking, because I don't want them to see my facial hair. But I'm like, okay, I can't go back to our grandma's house because they're going to ask where she's at. So I have to go back and get her. Go back and get her. They talked for a little bit. They cracked a few little jokes, whatever, blah, 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 blah. I'm thinking we're not going to ever see these guys ever again. I'm going to make sure I avoid walking this way. Why eighth grade comes, we're, la di da da da. And Kane is like coming up to our school. And it was like, honestly, it was kind of like predatory behavior. But they say that girls do mature quicker than boys, but still, it was like they were, what, 11th grade? And we were in the 8th grade. So it just seemed like they were trying to recruit girls for when we did get to high school the next year. But, since we had already met them, and like nobody knew that. So while all the girls are like fawning over them, we're just sitting back chilling, minding our business because we met them already. It wasn't a big deal to us. So, that happened a few times throughout the school year. And then we get to ninth grade. And listen, this is a story within the story. It was 2 weeks before I started ninth grade going into high school. My dad finally let me wax. He wouldn't let me shave my legs or anything, or my armpits or anything. He would not let me do it. But my cousin had talked him into letting her take me to get my face waxed. He did. We went. I'm not sure. I feel like I've said this story before, but I'm not sure. I'll do it again. I get back. I'm in the bathroom upstairs, and I'm just crying. I'm just crying because I felt like I changed something about myself to please other people. It wasn't about me. When I looked in the mirror, I was fine with what I saw. And I just didn't like that feeling. It didn't feel good at all. So yeah, please just embrace yourself. And it's hard. It's really hard. I get it. I've been there. People pick with you. They call you names for because of the way that you were born. Essentially. I can't help that I was hairy. I mean, so yeah, I don't care anymore. I let it grow out, honey. I don't care. But back then, being a young, fresh teenager, being a kid, words did bother me. Words did hurt. There was a time, this is kind of going back a little bit. I don't remember what grade I was in. I was probably in like sixth grade, fifth, sixth grade. I don't remember. But there was this after school program called the Harvest House that we used to go to. And I'm not sure if it was with the Harvest House this time actually, or if it was with the church. We had went to Cedar Point. I feel like I think it was with the Harvest House. Sorry, I'm all over the place. So it was with the Harvest House. On the way back from Cedar Point, a cousin of mine was sitting next to me, and she was like going down the alphabet. And when she got to M, she looked at me and said, "M for mustache. Brianka has a mustache." And I just ignored her because I was always taught that when you ignore people and it goes away. When I say that she said it the whole ride home, the whole entire ride home. M is for mustache. M is for mustache. Brianka has a mustache. And I was just like, damn, is she gonna stop or what? Like, it was crazy. So yeah, so when I say that, and growing up, just siblings and kids, just picking. I remember my brother always talked about, like how everybody, our family was a family except for me because I was hairy. They found me in the garbage. They found me in the garbage. My parents were werewolves, and they left me at the garbage, and our parents picked me. It's like when I say my whole entire life got picked on about it. And if I dare cried about it or anything, or brought it to an adult's attention or a parent's attention, I got in trouble for it and I got yelled. But it's like, it was nonstop, and I just didn't understand. So that is actually, I believe that's what developed me into not liking bullies. Like, I cannot stand a bully. It bothers me so much, and it doesn't matter what the form is at all. Any type of you ganging up on someone or being mean to someone or trying to put someone down, I do not like it. I will not stand for it. I don't like it. It's not okay. You do have to be mindful of how you treat people and what you say to people. My dad always said, "Sticks and stones may break your bones, but words will never hurt you." And that is not true. Words hurts. Words hurts. And they stick with you, and they play repeatedly over in your mind until you develop that sense of detachment in a way. Let's make that disclaimer. Bullying has to stop. And I'm sure it's not going to. Because it's a tale as old as time. Think God and the devil, right? It's always going to be that. And we have to learn how to navigate our lives through that and be okay with ourselves. Self-love is very important. And yeah. And learning how to stand up for yourself, even if you just say, okay, that's enough. That doesn't mean that the person is going to stop. Just to be honest, that it does not mean that at all. More than likely will probably egg them on even more. But as long as you say something, because I know in certain, it just keeps going off and I'm not sure why. I know in certain situations that I've been in personally, especially as I got older, when I would speak up, it made me feel like, okay, I didn't just lay down and let this happen. You know, at least I said something, even if it got worse. You know, I've had people put their hands on me, like physically assault me for telling them about themselves. You know, it's not like I was doing something to hurt them or to cause them pain or, you know, whatever, you know, cause them strife in any type of way. It was them doing something to me and I spoke up for myself and they assaulted me for that. So, I mean, I still felt like, okay, at least I stood up for myself. You know, so yeah, just wanted to put that out there. All right, so back to the story. So we get to high school and I'm, you know, dating Darius on and off, you know, for a little bit. But then it's around Valentine's Day. It was around Valentine's Day because you remember I told you in the last story, it was like I was just tired of his crap. And I think it was like a basketball game or something we had went to, me and my cousin. We're at the basketball. We were also cheerleaders. So then there's that. So we're at this basketball game after school and I bump into Joey and Kane again. And like we were kind of flirty on and off a little bit anyways. And we had like a class together. He was a senior and I was a freshman. We had one of our like alternative classes together. Like, you know, the specials, as in like maybe like a thespian or art or maybe Spanish or French or something. It was one of those type of classes. So he comes, I remember he's dancing. That's when white tea was like real big. First of all, I know this is another like side conversation. I used to go to Georgia when I was younger, and that song was like super popular like years before it even came up north. So then it made its way up north and it was like really big. And so at that time, that's when it was like really big. And I remember they were playing that and he was like on the court. He was not a basketball player. He was like really funny and like comedic. Him and Kane, Joey and Kane, they like joked around and goofed around, so everybody knew them. But Kane did play football. He did play football, but he was also like super goofy. They were real goofy, so everybody like knew them. You know, like class clown type people, right? So yeah, he's on the court dancing, and I'm like, ooh. Ooh, okay. I love me a man that can dance and a man that can sing. Something about it. So I see him, you know, I peep him, I'm like, okay, whatever. But I keep my cool, whatever. He come talk to me, he flirting or whatever, and that from that day we was like locked in. We were really, really, really locked in. I had ended up losing my virginity to him and everything. Yeah, it was all bad. It was all bad. When I lost my virginity to him, his best friend Kane came out and told me that he had just took another girl's virginity. And I'm like, what? So yeah. he was, yeah. So we was on and off for a while. It was real bad, and I had really lost myself in that relationship. I was, first of all, too young, and I talk to my kids about this now because I have two sons who are in high school. Don't fall into peer pressure, because I was also around girls. I played Barbie. I used to play with Barbie until I was like 14 years old. But I had a cousin. She was always fast. Always, like, crazy fast. I'm talking about Barbies and, just life, as a 14-year-old. And she's like, you need to grow up, Rianka. You need some dick. I was like, huh? What? And I don't know, I just completely lost myself. I've lost, yeah, friends and everything, just being around the wrong crowd. Yeah, some really good friends. I had a friend that was my girl, okay? Still ninth grade. I brought her around, like, my cousins, because that was my friend. Remember, they were standing outside in the front. I don't know if it was like around lunchtime or what. I don't remember. But me and her were walking, and I take her around my cousins. Because, your cousins and stuff growing up are like your first best friends, because, you're around them all the time. So that's what it was. And I really valued their opinion. But looking back now, I'm like, oh, they were just horrible influences, and really just, honestly, they didn't like me. They didn't like me at all. But yeah, back to the story. So she was an Asian girl, and my cousin goes, not Sarah. It was Sarah's sister. Let's call her. I was going to be super petty, but let's not do that. That's ugly. Let's call her Omarosa. So Omarosa goes, that's your friend? Oh, what? You want to be her friend because she's Asian? What, because she's good at math? And that just made me feel bad. It made me feel bad. Like, I was embarrassed, first of all. And I don't want anyone to ever feel like I'm using them for, whatever. It was just, being a kid. Being a kid and letting people get into my head, very easily influenced. That's what happened. So there's this big commotion in school, and everybody has a school newspaper, and they're talking about it. And I'm like, what? I finally asked, like, what are y'all talking about? What's going on? And they tell me, so she had got a role in this, like, big motion picture, movie in theaters, everything, And I'm like, that's so cool. I'll have to look it up, and I'll just insert it here. But it was cool. So I go to her and I'm like, hey, I see that you were in this movie. Congratulations. I was honestly just going to say congratulations because that's cool, So she looks at me and she goes, oh, now you want to talk to me? And I'm like, oh, I was just saying congratulations. It's cool. But that was it. I just wanted to say congratulations. And then, we went our separate ways. I felt so bad. Because she really was my friend. Kids, I don't even let my kids go to the same school as, like, our cousins and stuff, because I don't want them to be influenced in any type of way. I want them to build their own relationships, their own friendships. I want them to, not feel pressured by anyone else, or feel like I gotta go along with whatever my cousin, that undying loyalty that the person more than likely will not reciprocate towards you anyways. I don't know. I keep my kids separate away from family members so they can have their own identity for that reason right there. So yeah, I definitely learned my lesson. That's basically how the first part of our relationship with. He cheated all the time. I always found out about some other girl. I always had some girl walking up to me having something crazy to say. There was this one girl, I could not stand this girl. She, me and Joey, I think it was around lunchtime. Me and Joey, he's like leaned up on the wall and I'm like leaning on him and we're talking. And this girl, what can we call her? Let's call her Shayla. Shayla, let me write that down so I don't forget. Shayla walks up to us and she goes, "Oh, for real? This what we doing?" And I like look over at her because it was just so random. I look at her and then I like look at him and he's looking like, you know, a dummy. And she goes, "Oh, you was just over my house last weekend and I got cum all in me." I'm like, huh? And I'm so confused by the whole thing. Like, what? Mind you, this girl is in a whole relationship. She has a necklace on that says "Taken by Terrence." I'm like, what? It was just so weird. It was so weird that she did any of that. How are you in a whole relationship but you're in me in his face talking about what? I was just so confused. And I like looked over and my cousin, I see my cousin. I'm just going to call her Tony because that's what I call her. Hi, Tony. If you see this, Tony, I look over and Tony's like, punch her in her face. And I'm just like, and I walk away because I'm like, listen, I've always had a thing about I am not about to embarrass myself for somebody who's already embarrassing me. How do you get to cheat on me? You got girls coming up to me. You got girls just effing with me all the time behind you. I'm not about to, you're already humiliating me. I am not about to embarrass myself. Absolutely not. It's not about to happen. No. Whoa. So, yes, that was foolishness. It was another time oh my God, it was another time she came up to me. Well, first of all, she was going around talking about how she wanted to fight me. A girl that's in a whole relationship wants to fight me over my boyfriend. Okay. She's going around talking about how she want to fight me. It's a bunch of girls. First of all, I didn't know her. And the girls that she around, I don't know them either. But it's a group of girls not liking me over this guy. Like, but you have a boyfriend. It was such a confusing experience for me. I didn't understand it. Her sister used to talk stuff. It was just like, it was foolishness. And even well out of high school, I still heard things about like her and her sister jumping girls and fighting girls over guys and just doing the absolute most. Like she was always a menace. Always. For no reason though. She just was. Yeah. So it was another time her and a group of girls, I was coming out of the library and her and the girls talking about meet us over on St. Joe Park and we're gonna fight. Fight for what? Like, for what? I'm not fight for what? I'm not fighting you. Don't you have a boyfriend? Like, I don't know. I'm confused. And then I've always been the type, I'm not about to go to, if my boyfriend is messing around with some other girl, I'm not going to go to the girl and have a problem with her. My problem is with him. Nobody is making this man cheat on me. He's doing that by himself. He's willingly doing this. Why would I have a problem with the girl? And that's going to come back up later when I get into another story time. A whole nother relationship type of story time release party. So yeah, we didn't fight because what? And so me and my friend, we're talking because she was like, she was tired of her herself. She was real tired of her. I'm going to call this friend, let's call her Lynn. So she's a childhood friend of mine. I see her, like, we're talking or whatever, and she was talking about what I should have did or whatever. And I'm calling myself playing. I used to play way too much in high school. Way too much in high school. I go and I swing, but it was like, I wasn't supposed to hit her. I hit her. And I'm like, I am so sorry. Like, her lip bleeding a little bit. I didn't hit her like crazy hard, but I still hit her. And she was like, bitch, you lucky I love you. That was her favorite like line. Bitch, you lucky I love you. And she was a fighter. That girl didn't have a problem with fighting. She would fight, okay? And she took my hand and she was like, see, that's what you do to that bitch. I was like, oh my God, I'm not fighting her. It's not going to happen. No. So yeah, and that, I'm going to end that story time. I'm making my notes so I can remember everyone's names. Yes. And that's where we are with it. I will be back. I actually have to start getting ready to go somewhere. I'll more than likely be back Friday. Probably tomorrow. I don't know. But I'll be back. Talk to you guys later.